everybody. I'm Lisa Wetzel, and I am giving a little bit of information. I'm calling this the short lessons from the Akashic Records. And what the topic is going to be today is what happens when we sacrifice our own happiness for the happiness of others. And what the first question is that the records gave me to ask you is, you need to ask each individual to look at their own lives and evaluate when they have sacrificed their own happiness to please others. And what they're saying is that it's time for you as an individual to actually look at your own life and determine how you felt. What changed in you when you recognized that you were sacrificing your own happiness to please somebody else. That's really what the subject is and where we're focusing today. I have an assistant, Carrie, and the Akashic Records have given me some questions to ask, and Carrie's going to ask those questions, and then they'll answer the questions for you.
What happens when we sacrifice our own happiness for the happiness of others?
The happiness of others becomes benevolent to the individual that is sacrificing or taking away their own happiness to please another. As you please another, you find fault within your own self or your own beliefs. When you choose to let go of what your own meaning is in order to give pleasure to the one that is requesting this from you, you lose your identity. And as you lose your identity, you begin to understand that there are little pieces or aspects of your own being and your own soul that are being removed from you. What do you do about this situation, and where does this take you? This is what we want you to know. And in order to find out what this journey can do to you as an individual, we have asked specific questions that need to be answered at this time. And those are the questions that Carrie's going to ask.
What happens to your heart when you sacrifice your happiness for someone else?
Your heart becomes meaningless. There's a void that will need to be filled. Gosh, my accent. Sorry. There's a void that needs to be filled that will take place by taking away one's own joy. And what we mean in this is that when you are compromising your own beliefs or your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own emotions, in order to satisfy another, you begin to lose yourself. You begin to lose your own identity, and there becomes a void that is transparent in your own being. And this is what we're saying. Did that answer the question?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What happens to your mind when you sacrifice your own happiness for somebody else?
Your mind becomes blank. It becomes unknowing of the truth and what lies in the future for you. As you begin to recognize that there have been thoughts or feelings that have been erased from you, you begin to not know where you're going. You become lost and afraid, and that you no longer recognize where you're going or what your truth is. So, and what I'm seeing when this is happening is that as you begin to sacrifice yourself for somebody else, you're losing bits and pieces of your own identity. You're letting go of what you truly believe in, or what you truly feel, what you're truly passionate about. and what they're showing me a chicken, and this is funny. They're pulling feathers out of the chicken, and so it's like you have a chicken that's alive, and you begin to start pulling those feathers out of it. Then they become naked and afraid, and they're saying then and so after, if you pulled all the feathers out of a chicken, does it still look like a chicken? It looks like a chicken, but it's not full. It's not the complete chicken. It's only a part of the chicken. And this is, that's a funny scenario. It's taking away, they're laughing and saying, it's taking your clothes off. It's leaving you naked, not knowing what direction that you're going in, because you're no longer living in your own truth. You're not living from within. You're just stripping down who you really are. And they're saying, this isn't good for you. This isn't what we want for you. When you recognize that another is asking you to sacrifice your own truth, you will begin to truly analyze and look at yourself in recognizing what you're doing to your own growth and the identity of who you are. And this is what we want you to recognize.
What happens to your soul when you sacrifice your own happiness for someone else?
It's belittled. It's taking away parts that are of the utmost importance to its existence. When you begin to take away your desire or your longing or your truth, these are all aspects or parts of your soul that you've been created to be. So when you freely or willingly hand over those beliefs, those thoughts, those truths that lie within you, you're gently taking away the identity of the soul as it is recognized and what it recognizes in you. It loses its identity as well.
What happens to your life journey or path if you sacrifice your happiness for someone else?
It becomes off kilter. And what I'm seeing is like somebody walking down the road and they're walking like they can't stay balanced and they're trying to gain their balance again. They begin to lose their balance in a way that causes confusion and unknowing and not knowing truly what direction to go. And I'm seeing this very clearly. And what I'm seeing is that as you start taking away the parts of you that truly bring you happiness or something that you truly feel strongly about in order to satisfy another, you become blank. Your mind becomes lost and you start walking down a path aimlessly, like you don't have a direction because your direction was taken away from you when you gave it up. And so what we want you to know and what we want you to recognize is that as you start giving away pieces of yourself to another, you begin to sacrifice more of yourself as a human being than what you're giving to the other's satisfaction. And that's really important, and I hope that you really listen to that carefully. Okay?
How do you lose your identity when you sacrifice your own happiness for someone else?
And this is kind of a repeat. It's because you're taking away the parts of you that gave you an identity, the things that you were passionate about. And I'm seeing something like, I'm seeing somebody laughing, and they're laughing at something very specific. something that brings them joy or happiness. And then another individual, let's say your partner, says to you, why are you laughing at that? That's not funny. And then you begin to recognize, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't be laughing at that. So that part of you subdue, or you compress, or you stifle. Basically, you're removing it from yourself in a way that you feel that you need to do in order to satisfy the person that doesn't feel the same way as you do. What you're doing is that you're pleasing them and their own identity, but you're losing yourself in your own identity because that part of you was just taken away.
What happens to your energy when you sacrifice your own happiness?
It's depleted in an insurmountable amount of life. As you begin to recognize that as you start giving to others and taking away from your own self, you become exhausted. You become depleted. You lack life. And this is it. It's that simple. Recognize when you do this, how does your body feel? How do the emotions feel? How does it make you feel when you lose a part of yourself? And this is the question that we have for you.
How does sacrificing your own happiness for someone else affect them?
It gives them joy and it gives them pleasure. However, as we have mentioned, it robs you of every bit of identity that you have claimed. You may continually act in order to please others, but as you do so, you'll find that their satisfaction is increased. It's almost like what I'm seeing is the gas tank gets filled for them. But on the other hand, the gas tank for you is getting siphoned. The gas is getting pulled out and put into the other person's tank. So they're happy, they're content, they can go further down the road and be fine. But what happens to you is that you're stranded on the side of the road and not knowing what direction to go. And this is what we want you to know. We want you to recognize that if you truly choose to sacrifice your well-being or your happiness, then you will sacrifice your own life. So I want to thank you for joining me. You can join me at my website at lisawetzel.com. Instagram is Akashic Records Lisa Wetzel. YouTube is Lisa Wetzel Akashic Records Consultant. And Facebook is Lisa Wetzel Akashic Records Consultant. Thank you.